Hello, everybody. Welcome back from summer 2024. Tonight, we have a special program for you. First, I'd like to start with our president, Clint, address us with some messages and some stuff, some updates, some news, right? Some, late breaking bulletins, etc. And then we're going to get started with the show and tell. We have four presenters that are going to be showing and telling about their summer finds this evening. Without any further detail,
the show too.
oh,
You got
then
something, Jeff?
great. Come on in.
Oh, so good, so good, so good.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, Clint, take it away.
Okay, welcome, folks. Welcome to the first post-summer PHSC program presentation. Hope you had a good summer. We were on a bit of a hiatus. We're back. Stay tuned. Check the website for events going forward. We will be looking forward to visiting with all the PHSC members and hangers on as well. We're happy to see, I'm thrilled to see some folks here from the US, from our our good friends in Michigan, and I think from FSNY as well. Welcome, welcome. We look forward to doing and working with you lots more in the future. It just makes life easier, and that's what we're all about. If you don't know me, I look for simple solutions because I'm a simple kind of guy. We are the PHSC. We're based in Canada, obviously. Our goal is to disseminate information, preserve information about the history of photography, often in Canada, but often throughout North America and the world. As you'll see, our speakers come from everywhere, not just Canada. We welcome one, we welcome all. Check out phsc.ca, www.phsc.ca. A wonderful, our webmaster will be joining us shortly. Bob Carter does an amazing job, assisted by Jerry, who's just, familiarizing yourself with our website as well. Bob's wonderful to work with. He produces so much stuff on that website. So thrilled. Also, our soon-to-be rejuvenated email newsletter goes to 2,000 people. We let people know about upcoming events like shows and fairs and auctions, not just our own, but everybody else's as well. Become a member, $35, best deal in the world, 35 bucks Canadian, eh? Hit the website. Our editors 4 times a year produce an amazing journal, very well researched. The writers in there are, I just never cease to amaze me. These are the things that people produce and document. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. It's been a while, but
yeah.
Jeff, hello.
Hi, Jeff.
Intended for you, but what's coming up? You should know. If you are in the Southern Ontario area in London this Saturday, not Sunday, Saturday, September the 21st, is the London Vintage Camera Show, 10 till 4. Just Google it and it'll tell you where it is. It's a nice big show, very friendly. If you're from Toronto, you'll see people there that don't quite make it this far, this close to Yonge Street. Lots of deals to be had, lots of very friendly people out there. September the 29th, that's Sunday. That's Gary Perry's show up at the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center. October 6th, mark it in your calendars, is the MPHS show. That's a great show, lots of fun. It's an incredibly wonderfully sociable crowd. I love hanging out there because usually there's a lunch or a dinner involved. To be followed by on Sunday, October the 20th, our photographic affair, October the 20th, at the friendly confines of the Trident Hall, the Pierogi Palace. After that, November 10th, the old Book and Paper Show in Toronto. Good event, photographs, ephemera, good stuff. In my calendar, I have November 17th as the other Detroit show, run by Abraham Vinegar. And then, of course, stay tuned. We're doing an auction in the fall. We are. The PHSC is doing an auction in the fall, working our way up to 300 lots. We're at about 200 and change right now. Just got another consignment in today. Oh, where's Lily? Oh, Lily's not in tonight. Picked up another big juicy consignment on Monday. That produced about 26 lots of just the weirdest stuff you'll ever see. Already have some photographed, which Mr. Carter will be posting soon. Any questions, folks? PHSC related stuff. That's the commercial. Go ahead, mate.
Just to add, the paper show is also this Friday night, $30 admission, but Saturday and Sunday, $12 admission for Jeff Gadsden's ephemera and rare book fair.
And that's
what's the Japanese Cultural Center
up there. Yeah, exactly. So kind of interesting there too. Thank you for that. Okay. Thanks, Lauren. What you got, Mark?
I already have 8 table holders and 10 tables sold.
This is great. And we're working our way up to 70, 80 tables. That's pretty darn good. Always good to fill that room, and whether it's first with dealers and then the dealers get the people. That's our job. So good stuff. I think that's it for announcements, unless anybody else has anything. Do check us out on Instagram. What a crew. It's whenever we do an event, now that I've overcome my natural shyness, I ask people how they found out about the event. We have a list of emails. It's 2,000 emails strong. That's a pretty good one. We've got our membership, and we keep them in the know about stuff as well. But people check us out on Instagram a lot of a certain generation, and we love to see students come out, younger people come out, youngish people come out. That's always a lot of fun, and a lot of them find out about us on Instagram. So without any further nonsense, I throw it over to Celio Barato, who's our program coordinator. Does a hell of a job. Boy, does he bring in interesting people. You stay tuned. He's bringing in people again from all over the planet, and we're working on some stuff that is groundbreaking. We haven't solidified all the details yet, but you watch. It's and when I don't use the term groundbreaking loosely. We're hoping to help some researchers with some work that has kind of never been done before. You sort of hear little dribs and drabs, but in a very cohesive, structured way. It's hopefully will hopefully be assisting in presenting that. Right? Is that a good diplomatic way of putting it, Salio?
I think so.
Over to you. I'll stop talking now.
Great. Well, it is my great pleasure to get tonight's presentations started. We don't have a stated order, but who feels ready to go?
Can I do mine?
All right.
Because it's over here.
Okay. And so, Clint, do you need to share screen?
No, I'm just going to hold it up.
Okay.
I'm strong like bull, smart like streetcar. So we're talking about hey, what'd you do this summer, right? So I visited a friend in Western Massachusetts. Long story. And also another friend there, helping her out with some stuff, and also visited Brimfield, which is about an hour and a bit west of, sort of east of where I was staying. It's west of Boston. Brimfield is a wacky place. It's the stuff antique hounds, anybody sort of related in photography dreams of. it starts on a Tuesday, runs Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's field after field, farmers field after farmers field of tents of dealers of all sorts of antiques and stuff, big, small, large, costing jewelry, thimbles to tractors, and they'll open something up on a Tuesday and then on a Wednesday and so on and so forth. So I went there on a Friday and missed the rain, and found some photographic bits. I found out later that a lot of dealers just come for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then go home. It's there on Friday. A few dealers are missing. Anyway, it was not at Brimfield that I found this cool thing here. It was literally less than a mile away from where I was staying, and it's sort of like a kind of a lounge, and he's got some antiques in the corner, and it happened to show up on my Google thing, and here it is. This is it, and it's two-sided, right, and it's porcelain, so it's got some age, and it's got this it's bent over this way, so it hung on a wall this way, and it is Agfa photo, obviously. Now, Agfa, as we know, started in the mid to early 1800s as manufacturers of dyes and paints and stuff like that. And then in the 1860s, they got into photography, and they were a big deal in Europe. They did a lot of stuff in connection with early color photography. I'm actually hinting at something that we might be talking about later on PHSC programs. Anyway, in 1928, if I remember correctly, they acquired Ansco in the United States. Anthony Scoville and Company, which had been around since 1847. They were manufacturers of cameras and other goodies based in Binghamton, New York, which is sort of southern New York State, sort of southwest of Albany, south of Lake Erie, south of Rochester. Now, they set up, places where you could buy film. And this came out of a place in North Adams, Massachusetts, which is geographically kind of due east of Albany. And it was a store that sold Agfa products. So I guess as part of the distribution deal, Mr. Valancourt had a shop there, and he advertised in the North Adams Chronicle, I believe it was, in the 30s. Bring your film in here to be processed. We've got professionals who do it. Buy some camera stuff. So this sign dates from somewhere between 1928, when Agfa got into the U.S. retail market. The man was active in the mid 30s, because Agfa was a German company. In World War II, the U.S. government seized all the assets under the sort of Enemy Alien Act. Nonetheless, the sign remained on the building up until 15, 20 years ago, where the dealer that I bought it from, he removed it himself. And I looked it up on Spring Street, and the building is still there. You could tell where it was a row of retail shops, and one of them was a camera store. And I can't wait to show my buddies at the Photo Historical Society of New England what I found just kind of under their noses. So it's in the red has faded, as you can see, quite a bit. There's a few little icky marks on it, but I might look at cleaning it up just a little bit. And I don't know, I'm not going to hang it on the front of the house because that'll attract the wrong kind of crowd, but I'll put it up somewhere here and have good fun with it. So there you go. A little bit of
is that a lighted sign?
no.
Okay.
It's strict. This part is the Agfa part is just pure white porcelain, and it's enamel on porcelain. You can see at the bends here, the porcelain has sort of cracked away. This is the back of it, I guess. you know, it sort of disappeared here. It's not, you know, but you know, for a sign for that's like almost 100 years old, I'll take it.
So somehow with the graphic look, it always struck me as it must have been a European company.
You got that right. Absolutely. Right.
So what do you know?
Right. And it's very, it's got that, you know, if you, you know, that sort of, this lettering
Bauhaus.
style is very, you know, 20s kind of deco-y kind of simple, yet,
Right.
yet,
Yeah.
geometrical, right?
It's great.
So there you go.
Clint?
Sir,
Clint? If I may add, those signs with a lip, they're called flanged signs.
With a lip.
Flanged. It's
Oh.
got a flange.
like the thing at the edge here, right? The bent
Yeah.
over part? Yeah. Okay, I was actually looking for that. I knew, thank you for that, Lauren. I knew you.
Can I go now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm done. I got two more things, but I'll revisit you guys. No, you keep going. You're enough of me. Yeah, go nuts, Lauren.
All right, so let me turn on the screen share, Lauren. You're all set up.
This cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing.
I'm not sharing.
There's anything, let's see. Okay, please try again.
Next. Clint,
What?
Sorry, Celio,
Yep, can you try to share again? It should be working now. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
This is great.
now,
oh.
how can I get rid of what's on the left, if I can or not? There, did it. It's done. So this, I think most people know, but I collect early cycling photography, and that's just about it. And this photograph is about, it's a albumin carte de visite. It's from about 1860. This person, Willard Sawyer, and you tell it was a Sawyer quadricycle, four-wheel,
Okay.
because of the.
Lauren, I don't mean to interrupt, but can you click on it maybe to make it full screen? Because we're just seeing.
Okay.
Click on the Sawyer.
Sorry?
Click on the Sawyer.
See, well, for me, I miss his head and his legs.
Well, we just see all
okay.
your pictures right now.
Sorry?
We see all the pictures right now. We don't see.
Right now we see the folder window with all the different.
Oh, I'm in the one, on the one picture.
Okay, so let's try share again and try selecting desktop.
So stop video, participants chat, new share.
Yes.
Sorry.
New share. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Should I close this?
Don't close the window with your image. Just click on the Zoom share button.
Where's that?
At the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. What do you got now?
The same.
Now you need to choose the preview window or your desktop, actually.
Slideshow? No.
Yeah, you should try slideshow. Yes.
Well, the bad news is I'm not on that list. Starts David, Dietmar, Irwin, Jeff. So
I think, oh, okay. I think you're looking at the Zoom list. What you want to do is just here, let me see if I can help you from this end.
you want to take over? for a minute?
Okay, here we go. So try new share
Where's that?
at the bottom of the screen, the green button.
The screen share?
Yeah. And the pop-up window should show you maybe a desktop option. Select that one and then click share.
The screen or the image?
The screen. There we go.
Bingo. Bingo. Hold on.
Bingo, great. Oh,
Do you see a single unit vehicle?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Great
What a
image.
Super image, yeah.
okay. That's a Sawyer's treadle-driven quadricycle, four-wheel drive. There's one that's similar to this that I gave to the Science Museum in Ottawa. This is about 1860 or earlier. The interesting things, just specifics, because you can talk about every picture too long, but it's got a steering wheel. And it's also got a lamp. So this is one of the earliest pictures that's in existence now with a bicycle lamp. So this is a slide wood framed. It's about 1869. That's the popularity of that type of velocipede was 1869, 1870. And it's just got lovely colors and great humor. And it's recently acquired. It came with 3 other slides but this is the only bicycle vehicle. So some of the pictures are educational, some of them are eye candy. I'll just try and just let you enjoy them. Every one of these pictures, except for one, are the history of the bicycle as you know it today. So when you see a four-wheeled quadricycle, that's what's led up to your mountain bike and your racing bike. This is our history. So there's 2 of these photographs. Why these were selected is there are 2 outside carte de visites. So carte de visites are, at this era, the photographs were, well, I've generally found them to be single images. I've not had another pair of images, and outside make them a lot more important to me. So these are, we can't locate, there's no markings. They're either French or English, and they're charming images. That's called a Michaud pattern velocipede. I have a collection. I did a paper for an International Cycle History Conference on what we call what we all call cartoons today. These were actually photographs of prints. So this here is a carte de visite from France, but what was acquired off eBay this summer was that image on an American trade card. So that's a pleasant rarity acquired. This is an American velocipede club, and early velocipede club photos are very, very uncommonly found. So this is about 1870 to 73 era, no doubt New England, but not specifically. And this is an adult vehicle. This here is another adult vehicle. This here is a more common pattern. And then you've got a child there. So it's a nice compilation. This here is probably about a 12 by 8 or 12 by 9 photograph that's been oil painted over. And there was some little chipping and somebody did some little bit of restoration. So it's good just to show you the original color. But it's a nice image. So this carte de visite is extra interesting for me. You've got chain drive to two sides of the tricycle. That's called a hay fork, this open. Then you've got a high wheel bike, and on this side you've got a chain wheel to a chain wheel to a chain wheel. So it's gear wheel driven. There's no chain on that or lever. And it's also got a small wheel at the back. It's not perspective. That's a small wheel to his right and a large wheel, obviously, on his left. And there's another wheel behind as well. This is from Birmingham, about 1884, 82, sorry. And this was just a nice social scene. This was acquired this year. About 1882, you can see by the handlebars, that little straight bar cross and then the dip, that was about 1881, 82. But what's fun about this is a nice outside social scene. The child's got like a wooden rifle, and this gentleman here, I'm not sure where he's pointing the gun, either to this kid, or sorry, to this adult here, or up at this, but it's a nice, pleasant social scene. About 1882 also. And just an American sportsman. So you've got the shotgun. This is a cabinet card. The high wheel bike. Some pegs and balls and 2 pair of boxing gloves. This guy, Wilmot, was a trick rider. So I acquired this photograph this summer, and here's this is a cabinet card. So it's got all these pictures of the act. And this would not have been, this would have been staged, but it would not have been phony. This gentleman did this. He carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders, and that wheel would have been quite strong to hold it. The famous person was, aside from the act, was this person here. But that's a nice balancing act, and that's from Vienna, Austria. About 1888. This here is a photo. I've been trying to obtain a photograph of this type of tandem bicycle. It's called a Rucker tandem. This was built in England, but the photograph was taken at the London Fair in London, Ontario. And so here was the front fork, and they each drove independently, and they were very difficult to ride. So it's a nice Canadian photograph. And I really appreciated being able to acquire this and putting it, and it's going on the front cover of an important bicycle history journal for the fall issue.
Did the pipes help with concentration, maybe?
Sorry?
And the pipes help with concentration, do you suppose?
or biting.
Or-
So, sorry. So here's this vehicle. This is called a sociable. And these two guys are firemen from Spain. So here you've got an English bicycle in Spain, and this is a fire hose attachment. This part here. So this here is an older photograph of mine, but I selected it because this is the mechanism. It's called a facile. And this is early 1880s, about 1883, 84. And the reason I brought that out is the next photograph is probably one of my most important 10 photographs. This is the family of the makers and the people who owned it, the Facile Bicycle Club.
Hmm.
And it's got the whole family looking from Junior over here all the way up to the guy Beale Facile, John Beale, who invented this vehicle. And if you, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, I think 10 riders in the club. It's quite nice. And over in the corner, you've got some people looking on. English, again, about 1883, 84, in that range. This is a quadricycle, and that image was in an eBay purchase, but oh, sorry, a private purchase. But here it is. Here, this is the full view of the club, and there's the fort. Now, there is about 4 or 5 of these sheets that are double-sided. And this came, it's American, and I got it in the Netherlands. And these are obviously cyanotypes. I guess they're about, each one of these is about the size of a cabinet card. Why I found and wanted to show this was you can see the lovers. But what happened, there's got to be a reason. I can't figure it out, but that is an albumin drawing photograph. So it's a photographic process. And the hole was cut out, and that was inset behind it. And I don't think it was comedic, but it could have been. But it could, just interesting different things we can see. That's American, mid-1880s. Maybe see that's set in behind.
I wonder if it's also to protect the lady's privacy.
She gave it up on the other side of the page. Not really, I'm just taking a liberty. This is an Austrian or German.
Oh, boy.
Just great graphics there. So this is late 1880s. This is what you call a hard-tired safety. These were safety bicycles, and the pneumatic tire hadn't been invented yet. And the high wheeler lost its popularity fast, and by about 1890, they didn't sell virtually any more of them. But they called them penny farthings after that. So the name penny farthing was not in use during the time when the bicycles were on the market. This has been well enhanced by an unprofessional and an enhancer by the name of Lauren Shields. But this is a track. And with high wheel bicycles. And there's a famous print with velocipedes that predated that. But this came out of Buffalo area. And, you know, I think once you start collecting technical stuff, not art photography, but technical stuff, you just have to accept the warts and the cuts and the damages, you know, because you're trying to collect history as best you can. Now, this is really interesting. This is from Independence, Indiana, but I'm going to draw this up and you'll see who's on the bike. Anybody guess what nationality those three people are?
First Nations.
Yeah. A rare photograph to get native on bicycles. So
And that's like a bicycle built for three?
yes. And that was at a race that was at a racetrack. Here's another one. And there they are up there, I believe.
That's pretty
And-
cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's a great image. It looks like it could have been taken yesterday also,
Hmm.
you know? It's just-
Yeah, there's a little blur. These guys were moving. And some Victorian humor. She's got a match. She's got a match. She's gonna let the cannon go. He doesn't know. This one I had for a while, but it's obviously a tintype, but it's got a light, a carbide lamp for lighting inside. So real people, this Kuntz factory, they made rims in Cleveland, Ohio area. And this they would have taken and used at a trade show. It's probably the biggest practical appearing bike I've seen. This mid 1890s. And this one is in Port Hope, Ontario. But what I find very interesting for the, see the date? September 18th.
What's to the day?
It's today. Wow.
It is to the day.
Yeah. And really interesting.
They made it to the
Again,
meeting late.
Sorry?
The people here made it to the meeting late.
But here's all of the information about the race.
Whoa. Wow.
It's incredible.
And I have a whole collection of different animals which are directly related to the vehicle. So like that owl, if it was no doubt stuffed, but it was on the bike, not just an owl in the picture. So sort of a nice image. And this is one of my favorite ever pictures. So first of all, this is called American Gothic. This is one of America's most important pieces of early 20th century art. And I always knew of this picture and liked it, but I had no idea that I would ever get an image that more or less covered oops, sorry.
Good part.
but you can see the windows, the female with the split in her hair, the male, obviously not a pitchfork, but there's bikes, and they tried to set up the image. So you've got horses in the background. It's one of my favorite photos. And this is from Minnesota, an American flag for the umbrella, and drink cherry ripe. And this here identifies Clinton, Massachusetts, July 98. And then so you've got signage, and signage is always fun and nice to get. This Victor, they made, Victor was the name, but it was Overman Wheel Company. And Victorias were the female name for the female model of bicycles. So four sizes. Here's the ad for Dunlop tires. Those two hands were there because they used to advertise showing two hands and say, with these hands, you didn't need tools to repair that model at the time of Dunlop tires. So here's Christmas, which is forthcoming. It's coming up in 1899. And within two images is the most exciting photograph of all time. It's going to be very revealing, and I'd like everybody to make sure they're sitting safely. So the next image is Santa bringing this is late 1890s, Christmas up to date. And this is going to ruin everybody's day because it's going to end the myth that Santa went out on his carriage. He had a backup with an ice cream type. That's a candy cane tricycle. It's of the era. There's no question about it. All the kids that got stuff, it didn't all come from the sky. I'm sorry to do this to. This is sort of fun. I have others like this with music. Here's your vehicle, and he's having fun. He's got his corncob pipe and his top hat, ukuleles. Here's identified. Oops, sorry. There's bread, probably milk.
Beer.
Sorry?
Beer. Beer.
Yeah.
You guys got beer.
You heard that, did you?
Oh, and this here, I'm not exactly sure, but I wouldn't be, because it's a humorous farm type scene with all these guys kidding around. I would not be surprised if that guy is wearing a dress for the ruse during the day. And this is just great composure. I got this a couple of weeks ago. Isn't that fabulous? I mean, nobody has to answer, but to me, it's
Yeah, those are bicycle parades, right? They happen down.
4th of July.
Yeah.
4th of July. But that could have been a woman's club or from a town.
Yeah.
And they had all kinds of things. They were in the shapes of boats, cannons, airships, horses. I have a whole plethora of different things that they used for. This was selected because it's from Bombay, late 1890s, 1900. And this was selected because I tried to get as many countries as I could. This is from Algeria. And this this is the nicest photograph I've ever seen of a colored lady. It's just a fabulous construction, fabulous clothing, and I really cherish this image.
Right from
And-
across the river too.
Pardon?
Right across from the river from where I'm at, Detroit.
That's right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Very nice.
Leather outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Fenland Falls,
Oh,
and you see this here. And I checked in Google, the Manita is, they've listed the ship. So, and that's what people went, and they took trains or boats. They'd go to the furthest place and then drive back, so they could go out. Let's say if they went without transporting themselves, they might go 40, 50 miles in one direction to go 100. Whereas if they went out in directly, they could go in a vehicle and do 100 miles and then come back and see different scenery. And horrible condition. I just want to mention that you've seen a couple that are in bad condition. I have an awful lot of photographs, and if condition was the only thing I was concerned about in showing it to you, I wanted to share my experience that we shouldn't be affected about collecting condition. It's obviously an optimum, but if we want to improve our collection for the historical aspects, we have to be a little more lenient.
Yeah.
I just want to show one thing. I think Celio knows me and Clint know me. That looks like me. I just noticed that today.
Looking in a mirror. Now, in that image there, Lauren, the bicycle is actually riding on top of the rail.
Yeah, I'll show you if anybody wants to see it. I could show it if I found it later. But I did an article. It was the first article ever written on these they called them, well, in this case, it wasn't a railway velocipede, but railway velocipedes and these attachments. If anybody knows the name Cooey, the gun people, they also made tens of thousands of these out of the American West.
Wow.
So these were attachments. There was one wheel here and these two wheels on here, and they ran the rails. And the reason for that was all these towns were right across America, but there weren't necessarily any roads at all between them, or if there were roads, they were never maintained. They were just covered by horses. You couldn't travel. And flat, even, and organized, going from a town to a town, were these rail attachments. They were attachments on regular bikes, and some of them could come off quite promptly.
Lauren, on the previous picture, right at the bow of the boat, it showed a bicycle wheel.
That's the point.
There?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I showed it. They used to travel, Mark, they used to travel with their bicycles and go get on the boats and then drive back home. That's what I was explaining. That's why that picture was selected. But thanks for bringing it up to everybody's attention. This is a automobile picture. and I need your indulgence for 1 minute, please. Everybody who's a collector says, for 50 years, I've been trying to find this X, Y, or Z. But this, not this image, but this came with the image that I bought. And what happened was suffragettes were an important part of American history, Canadian history, and cycling history. But I could never find suffragette photos with bicycles. And one came up on eBay with this picture. Well, this picture is sort of fun because it shows both of them came out of a newspaper archive. And these are about between 1900, I would say 8 and 10. But this is important. I'll read it quickly. Motoring school for women, new profession for the fair sex. To Miss Eileen Preston, an enthusiastic lady motorist residing in Kew, that's Kew is in England, belongs the credit of being the first and only woman who has earned a motoring school, who has opened a motoring school exclusively for women. Her school is near Olympia, which is part of London, and her pupils become chauffeur secretaries to professional men who dispense with mere man for the charms of women motor drivers and knows all about internal mechanisms of her car. So this came with, is probably more collecting wise, more important than my my suffragette image, but I'm sure you'll enjoy that. But this was the suffragette picture. And if it was marked suffragette, I would have never, like, it would have been very, very expensive. But they called it the Women's Corps in England. And this is the only photograph I've ever seen for sale. And I was able to get it. There are very few even in the books on suffragettes. Susan B. Anthony was an important suffragette lady. And here's the identification. See her hat? She's got that part there, and then they've got sashes, the hat on that side of her hat, that hat, sashes. And so there it is. That's really something that I was honestly looking for a good 50 years, because I knew it and I couldn't understand why I couldn't find one. It was because by 1900, the bicycle had lost favor with the wealthy and the important people. They were started to get into the automobile. So you didn't see them on bicycles. They didn't get obsolete completely. And this is a cherished example. And this is from the Stanley Barracks in Toronto. It's about 1914. And that's it. Thanks, everyone. That's it.
Well, thank you very much. That was fantastic.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, quite welcome.
All right. Any questions for Lauren?
Always a good presentation, Lauren. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's
Go ahead.
Lauren, I
Yeah.
do have a question. This is Louise.
Hi, Louise.
In the photograph where you had the woman lighting the match, it was a composite sort of thing, I think.
No, not at all.
No? Oh, okay. Well, the woman lighting the match, that is somebody.
Do you know her?
No, not personally, but no, I
No, as an actress or someone. That's what I meant. I didn't mean a former friend.
Oh, no. No, she's just, I think she's a photographer.
Oh, she looks like, what's her name?
Yeah, she looks like what's her name, but I can't think of her name.
Let's see her again.
Right here.
Doesn't it?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, well, it did, just because of the pose, but no, that doesn't totally look like her.
Hmm.
She might do that.
They're Canadian.
Okay,
Elf Maynard.
Yeah, Maynard, Mrs. Maynard.
Oh,
I don't think it's her.
It doesn't, it
No,
just looks
I
like her.
don't think so too.
No, I don't think so either. It just looks like her. But thank you for going back to it though for me.
Oh,
What do you-
there's
So you've got a Maynard. Well, does that look like her?
nope.
Okay,
nope,
thank
nope.
you.
what was that picture, Clint?
Well, that's handy.
Yeah, okay.
You've seen this before.
I think I've seen the picture. Anyways, thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
God.
Elio, you could just put me back to a human being.
All right, here we go.
Emma.
All right, just give me 1 second and I'll. All right, back to the world of the mortals.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
All right, would you like to go
Right.
next?
Okay, I'm going to keep this really brief. Now, this is actually not an item that I picked up during the summer, but it's an item that I started fiddling with during the summer. I started working with it. I had numerous problems before that. So I've got a small presentation. I'll show it to you first of all. So this is a horizon. Don't ask me how you pronounce it. Horizon T.
Horizont. Horizont.
right. Sorry?
Horizont.
Horizon. Okay, Clint, I'll give you that one. This is a camera that was manufactured in the USSR, and which it states very proudly on the bottom. And this was an English version. I have to look into this a little bit more, but it's a panorama camera, and well, you can see what it looks like. So I'll show you just a little bit about it. To open it up, you have this little viewfinder here. So you got to take this off. It's a little separate piece. And okay, get this thing open. Okay, so this is what it looks like inside. So I'm just going to show this up, pull this up to the camera here for everyone to see. You can kind of see how it works. There we go. And that kind of cocks the shutter. It takes 35mm film. And it's got a little, it kind of works like a scanner. It's got a little thing that kind of moves across, and there's a lens behind it. So it kind of scans across like this. It's got a, it's got a little bit of versatility to it. It's got a fairly fast lens, goes from f2.8 to f16. 3 shutter speeds, a 30th, a 60th, and a 1/125th of a second. So it's got a little bit of flexibility that you can have. Now, I've got a manual for it too, which I bought on eBay from a guy in Russia whose name was, not surprisingly, Andre. And it took about 3 months to get here. Andre and I had a few conversations throughout, because it was taking a while. He's a very friendly guy. He was very pleasant and everything. And so I don't know if he's still around, given everything that's going on with the Russians and Ukraine and everything now. But what he had done was he had made up photocopies of this little manual, and he was selling them on eBay for $10 a piece, which, seemed reasonable. So anyway, so what I've done here, I've done a few little copies here. So I'm gonna share my screen down here at the bottom and show this. Okay, so there we go. Share here. And oops, they
Hi.
changed color on me. There we go.
Hi.
Okay, all right.
I'm on the, in the meeting. Okay, bye.
Okay. Where do we start? I haven't done this in a while. Normal. Okay, view. Where is the play from start? Come on, folks. Where is it? Does anyone see it here?
Um,
Down in the bottom right.
Bottom
So
right.
you can click on the top image at the top left.
Okay.
So
Oh,
click
oh,
on it. That's it. And then you go to the bottom right to have it full screen.
Right.
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
to the
but
left of that.
But there used to be a thing here like play from start and presentation. Oh, here we are. Play from current slide. Okay, there we go.
go. Nice.
All right, there we go. Okay. I'm rusty here. All right, so this, as we can see, this is from Andre's manual here. So this was the, oops, okay, so this was in Cyrillic. This was a North American version, so we do not have the Cyrillic text on there. These cameras were manufactured from 1967 to 1971. The version that I have, going by the serial number, dates probably from 1969. Again, this is from the manual. So these are just all the different parts. So we've got our viewfinder and our lens, and we've got a little accessory shoe there for the viewfinder itself. I like this nut of handle. I like some of these things. And a handle. And the level of the viewfinder. It's important stuff to know here, folks. There's a little level at the very top. Here's our rewind knob, scale of shutter speeds,
Mhm.
film speed, memorable scale. Love these translations. Scale of apertures. So everything is on the top, as you can see. So we've got, you set your shutter speed and you set your f-stop, and there's a little reminder in there so you can remind yourself what kind of film you put in there, the
Mm.
ASA, ISO of the film. We have a shutter release button, and we have film winding and caulking knob on the side. Okay. And again, that's a photocopy from Andre, so it is what it is. But it kind of tells you what everything is. Now, this is the part that I was having all the struggling with, was getting the film in the camera, getting it to
Mm.
beds, and then getting it out of the camera. And there's a little guide over here, and that I'll show you when we finish this, and I can show you where the little diagram is. And I mean, it's fine. It is what it is, but there are some issues. And if you ever acquire one of these, that you kind of need to know about. And this is where my 2 years of frustration with this machine were. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing here. Now, a couple of the things that I found. So when you are loading this camera, okay, and as I mentioned, now, can we get this open again? Of course we can, so now. There we go. So here's our little diagram over here, which put right up close here to the camera. And one of the things you have to do, so you wind it around, and then you've got to hold it really tight and make sure there's no slack in there. Because if there's any slack in there, that's it. You've lost it. Your film's just going to go all over the place. So you don't want to deal with that. Same thing when you're rewinding. So when you're rewinding the film, I mean, it's kind of straightforward. You have a little button on the bottom that you push, and then you turn your rewind thing. But the thing is, you've got to hold this button down while you're rewinding it. Otherwise, if you let go of it, it's going to and you've got to resort to a changing bag to get it out of there. So there's a few little tricks that you have to know about. But once you master that, I mean, I got to the point where I was pretty good. I could actually unload the film, rewind it, and load up a new film in a moving car. That's a first. All right. So I have about 10 rolls of film that I shot with this thing in the summer. I just got back on Monday, or Sunday, so they're not developed yet. So when we have another version of show and tell, hopefully I'll have something to show you from this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
All right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's fun. It's fun. What can I say?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry.
My pleasure.
Very
Just
cool.
as a-
So it's
it was manufactured just outside of Moscow.
Oh, the one thing I forgot to mention, it came in this lovely case over here.
Oh.
And it's leather, it's pure leather. Isn't that lovely? There's another little piece in here that mounts onto it that was part of it, and I haven't quite figured out what the purpose of this thing is yet. I mean, I think there is one, but I don't know what it is. I think it's so you can, it screws onto the bottom and you can.
What's the handle?
That's the handle,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is a handle,
It's the
but I
grip.
don't really know why you need it.
It's
So-
the reason for the handle knob.
The handle
Yes,
nut.
indeed.
Yeah.
Nut, handle nut, yeah.
all right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you again.
Okay,
Well,
so hopefully we'll have a
Jeff?
sequel.
nice. Can't wait to see the pictures taken with the camera. Mr. Ward, would you like to go next?
Sure. All right. Well, thanks very much. I didn't have anything to show you up until a week ago, but I got something in the mail the other day. I just let you know that down here on the East Coast, I've been my interest is in Atlantic Canada photography, and I've been for the past couple of years. I've had a Facebook page called the Early Light Project, and so I do recommend that if you want to know a little bit about what's going on here historically. For the past 2 years, I was doing a every week on Facebook, just for something light to do. I would do another week. I do another year in history. So I did 100 weeks, if you can believe it. It was quite daunting, but I am turning that into a book that I hope to have available by the end of the year. It's about that thick. But anyway, but what I have today is, you may or may not know, if you know about the history of not just Atlantic Canada, but Canadian photographic history. We had a fellow named Thomas Henry Blair, who was an early inventor of cameras and so forth. And he became really interested in getting smaller and smaller cameras, and for the amateur photographer. And he, as you may also know, if you know about him, he went into direct contact with a guy named George Eastman. Eventually, George Eastman bought out his company called the Blair Camera Company. Well, one of his early cameras was something called a lucidograph, which was one of the very early self-casing cameras. And I bought one. This is dating from about 1885. I'm going to just turn it around. I'm not going to mess with it in terms of folding it up and so forth. You can see the back of it is actually a the viewfinder, so to speak. You put this under a hood, and I think it's a 5x8. Does that sound right, everybody? Yeah, the dimensions. So there's a it slips down here, and you put your plate in there, a dry plate camera. It's got a bellows. The whole point about it is that it was self-casing. So to make it work, what he actually did is he took the lens and made it reversible, so you can fold it into the front of the camera. That was, I think, one of the big things that he did. It made it work.
Wow.
And so it's beautiful. It's mahogany and cherry, and brass fittings and so forth. What made it different from other folding cameras of the time was that the front door has opens like a door, as opposed to folding down. You know, most cameras after this folded down. His folded out, and there's a little knob on the side here, and actually that allowed you to attach to firm up this front piece. So that gave it the solidity you needed, and it came with a tripod, but this didn't come with a tripod, but it was sold with a tripod. But it's considered one of the forerunners of the self-casing camera. But because of the side door, some people have called it sort of a dead end in that regard. But I think the idea of being able to take the lens completely off and fold it back into itself was quite an innovation. This, I hold that up. I don't know if you can see that, but it says Blair Camera, Boston. So he was from near where I live. I'm in Halifax, and he was in a place called Truro. He was an itinerant photographer around 1875 or so, and he was frustrated with the idea of having to bring either a lot of equipment or basically in a carriage of some sort, whether it was we don't know what sort of equipment he was using, but he had this idea, and he wasn't the first idea, but he had his own idea of creating a box, in a suitcase sized box that will allow him both to take the picture and develop it all in one space. So he actually created an earlier camera, much bigger than this, called a Turograph, which allowed him, well, that was the later name. It had a very long name, but it was, it had a camera on the front, or a lens on the front, but he could actually take the picture in this with the hood over and actually process it without even leaving the hood, so to speak. So he would be doing probably tintypes at that point, but it was wet plate. It was right around the time that wet plate transitioned to dry plate. And so when he first advertised, he was actually saying he could do both, or it would allow you to do both dry plate and wet plate. But as I say, he within 10 years, he was producing this sort of camera, and kept busy. That was 85. So by within a few years, he was getting excited about something called celluloid film, and acquired a company that produced celluloid film, and in fact was the supplier of film for the Edison kinetoscope. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It was pretty important stuff. He got into trouble with his backers, and had to, they sold part of the company to Kodak, and he left off for England. But a lot of the early experimenters in England and in France were using his film over in Europe, including the Lumiere brothers, who very quickly decided they could make their own film. Thanks very much. But Burt Akers was one of the early users of his film, and so forth. Some early names in cinematography. It's kind of a story that's not well known, and it's certainly not well known as a cohesive story from the beginnings to the cinema aspect of it. It is a dream of mine to try to turn it into some cohesive story eventually, but I've got a few other things on the go at the moment. But basically what I've done is I've not repatriated the camera, but I've patriated it, in the sense that he didn't work here with his company, but he very much was a Nova Scotian or Canadian doing work and at the very highest level. And I'm proud to have brought it over the border, so to speak. So.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Wow.
Anyone?
Yeah. How heavy is it?
It's very light, very light. I think you can look it up, and it probably mentions the weight to it, but I would say it's, I don't know the dimensions, but I wouldn't say it's much more than a pound. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Quite portable.
Very portable. That was the whole point. Now, the strange thing about it is that, it has the glass back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the original did come in another box, which was more of like a heavy canvas sort of, but it always struck me as a little bit odd that it would have a glass box, but it wasn't always intended to be packaged in something else. but the actual thickness here is only about 4.5 inches thick. And
So
then the,
once it's closed, it'd only be about 4. Okay.
exactly, exactly,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it was quite a compact little thing. It's not much bigger than a book in terms of this dimension here.
Right.
And the thickness, it's, I guess you probably a thesaurus or something.
Mhm.
Um,
I think Lauren has a question.
yes, Laura.
Were those the films that burnt?
Yes, celluloid was very flammable. Yeah, that's right. That was
So-
the early. Yeah.
So I know that they eventually replaced it, but how did they get around it at the time, even if they did?
I don't have that information. I don't know. I don't know if they got into the trouble. I think I'm just speculating now, but I think the trouble came when when they were projecting using mercury or carbon arc and so forth. That was pretty hot. And then later, I think what happened is, well, it started to deteriorate. I mean, there's no celluloid film now available, or the old stuff, if they were to find it now, would have probably have deteriorated just through degradation.
Vinegar syndrome.
But I'm sure there might have been, but I've not heard of any stories of fires at the time of production.
Movie theaters would burn down.
Say again?
Movie theaters would burn down.
Yeah, that sort of thing happened.
I know that the George Eastman Museum
Yes.
buried a large percentage of their collection of
Yes.
nitrate film on their property.
Right. Yes. There was a photographer here who worked only in the early adopters of film were all using celluloid. There was a photographer here named Waldron, whose collection survived and is now at Dalhousie University. They spent a couple of years converting those celluloid negatives to glass or to modern film. But they took a lot of precautions, I understand, to prevent any possibility of fire when they did that too. So
Well, sometimes nowadays, well, you don't see it now, but older film,
yes,
negative film, you see Kodak safety film,
yes,
and they specifically put safety on the edge,
yeah,
to differentiate it from slightly older films. You know, if it said safety on it, it meant it wasn't.
it wasn't celluloid.
That's correct. It wasn't
Yeah,
as horribly flammable as
Right.
the previous stuff was.
Yeah.
So if-
Bruno, did you have a question? as
Yeah,
well?
sorry. First, let me introduce myself. I'm the secretary of the American Photo Historical Society based in Rochester. And so that's what I wanted to add about Rochester itself. And I think it was in 1981 where the George Eastman House, due to the fact that they had less support from Kodak, were going to close, and there was a whole movement in the town to find the funds to basically keep it here. And that's when they built those vaults underground, as you mentioned, to keep the celluloid film. I think there's a very famous, I think it's an Italian movie called Cinema Paradiso.
Yes.
Basically recounts the burning down of a cinema because of this type of film.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think the safety thing is when they moved to acetate, and that was probably in the 1930s. I think it was around or before Kodachrome, around that time.
So that was a long span, nearly 50 years. When I mean, I think the Edison was coming out in the late 80s, 1880s. So
1888 for
so maybe 40 years, 45 years at the most. Yeah, but that's a big portion of the early cinema. All of that stuff was any that that wasn't preserved is no longer preservable. I think the earliest feature film in Canada was filmed here in Halifax in 1912. It's called The Story of Evangeline. There's some stills that exist, but they were never able to recover the original film, and they only started looking, it seems to me, about the time that they knew it was going to. Even if they did find it, it was very sketchy that they'd ever be able to restore it.
But that's why the George Eastman has done it. It's a cold vault.
Okay.
In fact, yesterday I went, they were showing, they digitize some of the movies by the Lumiere brothers dating back from, I think, 1898 until 1907.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's
On
actualités.
constant show right now at the George Eastman Museum.
Now, does the George Eastman Museum still hold those nitrate
Yeah.
shows?
They do
Mhm.
keep the nitrate, do they? So that, but they've transferred it all to safer methods, have they?
Yes,
Digital-
but they've kept the original.
Yeah, right. Well, that's great, but you know, you can imagine the expense to do that, to keep it into a safe environment. It's wonderful.
Fantastic.
I believe that the Dalhousie work that was done when once they transferred those early photographs, I think they destroyed the original nitrate just from a safety perspective. I don't think they had the money to store it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bruno, can you hang in at the end of the meeting? I'd love to chat with you about
Okay. No.
stuff like that, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you, but at the end, afterwards. Hang in.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much for your presentation.
Oh,
It's really
thank you.
enjoyable, and I specifically, I really like its link to cinema.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a interesting story there. Yes.
Jeff, you got the magazines, right?
Yes, we did. Yes. Thank you. A whole bunch of them. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Now,
Mhm.
Clint, did you want to come back? There were a couple of more
Oh,
things that you wanted to chat
sure.
about.
Okay. Okay. I'll let you guys choose because I might eventually do all three. The image or the hardware?
The hardware.
Okay, good.
Okay, image.
Okay, do the image. Do the image. Because okay, so this is the image. It's a case. It's half plate something, right?
Yeah.
And it's you open it up, of course, and there it is. And it's a very beautiful fun. Stop reflecting.
Upside down.
Right. Okay, forgive.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, wow,
It's,
lovely.
it's a beautiful dag
Yeah.
of a wedding couple.
Wow.
It's early-ish because the mat is fairly simple. I've decided. Oops, that's upside down too. Now, the neat thing, oh yeah, wedding couple, you know, and she's not here. But when I got it, it wasn't this pretty. There was a lot of me, schmutz. Thank you, Lauren, on the image, and our good friend Cindy Motzenbecker had it for a bit, and she tidied it up quite a bit. Now, let me show you the back, which gives you the sort of the whole Canadian aspect of it. And here we go. I can't. I'll read it.
PC Doan. Oh, that's wonderful.
PC Doan, right?
Oh, wow.
Daguerreotypist numero 2, Place des Armes, Montreal, Canada.
Yeah.
Corner opposite the French church.
Yeah.
So this, yeah, it's you know, it's kind of nice to get in the U.S. You know, I find, well, I don't find them just in the U.S. You find quite a few Dags Ambrose by U.S. photographers stamped in the mat in the bottom corner, because they produced a zillion times more images than we did, and so it's very, very nice to find something Canadian. I'm sorry that Bob Carter couldn't join us because he's got a memory like a steel trap. A number of years ago, not that long ago, one of our friends, Stephen Evans, he discovered at an antique show a whole whack of TC Doan cased images. I thought we did an article on it. I looked through all our back issues and stuff and on our website, and I couldn't find it. It was a bit of a research project. TC Doan, 1846 to 1866. He also, according to I think Phillips, for a few years had a studio in Quebec City. Kind of an interesting guy.
Can I interject that those
Do.
early years were in Nova Scotia. He was from Nova
Yes, he's from Barrington. I love this part. I'm so glad you nailed that. 1814. You know, he's so Canadian.
So Canadian, yeah.
Yeah, but except for like the end part. I like that. So
Yes.
I'm just reading here from Wikipedia. 1832. He was working as a portrait painter. Went to Halifax in 1842 and learned the DAG process from William Valentine.
Right.
So they kind of worked together, and they set up shop in
Newfoundland.
St. John's.
Yeah.
Valentine and Doan. I love working with you, Jack. He 1846, great clientele, great names here. Geoffrey Howe, Louis Joseph Papineau, Lord Elgin. Oh my God, right? And then
Before he went to Montreal, though.
Before he went to Montreal.
Are you about to bring up Montreal?
No, you go ahead. You're
He went to Bermuda.
That's right.
And he spent about 6 months there. And the Bermuda archives have all the old newspapers online. And when he left, there was an Anglican bishop trying to raise money for a new church. And he complained about this photographer who had done about 1,500 photographs in the past 6 months. He said, if people were willing to spend all their money to have the picture taken, why couldn't they spend some money on the church as well?
Yep.
So anyway.
And so back he went, and then in 1865, 1866, he stopped making pictures. By 1866, he was in New York City, married, had a daughter, and there they stayed. I haven't dived very deep into this, but why did he stop?
Yeah.
Prolific is hell. For you to say that 1,500 images, it's like that's nuts.
It is nuts.
By any standard known to. Wow. I mean,
he may have been independently wealthy at that point. He may.
Well, I'm now. Correct me if I'm wrong, and you're from there. The Doans, were a heavy-duty mercantile family. There is another Thomas Doan who was very involved in industry and commerce and the whole bit. I suspect he was a cousin, but I always got the notion that the Doans
were pretty well off. Yeah,
weren't hurting.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think they.
Right?
And actually, there was a New England branch of the Doans. They were New Englanders who came up during the
mid 1750s. Yeah.
I think they must have had, maybe they had some family money to begin with. But yeah, I think they were fairly well off, but he clearly had, was a pioneer, and he knew he probably was a very good businessman.
Right.
Again, demonstrated by the Bermuda, but also, and he also was a good promoter, right? Because he's one of the few who actually put his name in his work.
Now that's key. Now on this, it's just sort of like a cardboardy thing. It's a very vivid green. Oh, which reminds me, it's probably loaded with. Help me out. Strychnine, arsenic, the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And it was very carefully blocked off when this thing was restored. I watched her do it. She's good. This Motts. So yeah, he also has often on the front, he's got a little embossed little TC Doan logo. I've seen that a number of times. So I'm very proud of his work, and really good work too. So
yeah, great, good stuff.
Good. Okay. Jeff, you still look for stuff, don't you, online and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I'm on hiatus now because I got to pay for this camera.
Gotcha.
I got a message from eBay today saying we haven't heard from you for a while.
Okay. Good.
But yes, I am still looking for. I do find it really helpful to as a I mean, it's a research collection. This is part of it here, by the way. It's called
Yes.
the Early Light Collection. There's 9 boxes like this.
Wow, good on you.
Yeah.
Let us know if you need any help.
What?
Let us know if you need any help, as
Okay.
always.
Thank you.
And keep on
Don,
writing.
Don was making carte visites, which I have a couple of those.
Yep.
Yes.
So it could be maybe that there was by the 1860s a lot of competition, and
Especially in
maybe it just wasn't
Montreal.
worth his while.
I think a fellow named William.
What was his name?
What's his name?
Not
Shown up by then.
not.
Notman, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
might have been a factor. I don't know.
Never know. Never know. Anyway,
There
Maybe
aren't.
the factor
I
is-
haven't come across very many carte visites by Don, so it must be that he was already.
yeah,
Well-
he also had an interesting logo on his CDVs.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
As you said, Clint, he left in '66, so that was early days even for carte de visite. So
Right.
he was. Yeah. I acquired one of his as well. I bought it from a vendor in France. Probably one of the more expensive pieces I collected. Yeah.
Ugh,
Anything from France is expensive.
right.
The French seem to really jack up the prices.
They see those Canadians coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, Celio.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Did you still want to show this the hardware as well?
Oh, sure. Okay, fine. If you insist. If you insist. So, what does the name Smith and Sharp Toronto mean to you? I don't know. Let me read you a thing. Here we go. So, Smith and Sharp they were partners in a business. Don't know a ton about Smith, but this guy Sharp, Henry Folds Sharp, he was in Ottawa, and then off he went to Colborne, where he was a headmaster. In 1881, he came to a little company called R.D. Ewing and Company, dealers in photographic supplies, and he was there for about 5 years. That brings him up to about 1886. Went to Montreal, joined another purveyor of photographic equipment, D.H. Hogg, H-O-G-G and Company. You see brass lenses for large format cameras with Hogg on them. He was there for a couple of years. That gets him up to 1888, 1889. In about 1890, he returned to Toronto to join this S.H. Smith, and they formed the firm of Smith and Sharp. He sold out to, I guess, his partner, and it became H.F. Sharp and Company, and then taken over by the Tugwell Company on Bay Street. But the Smith and Sharp thing that I have is it's heavy. Whoops. Let me get back on camera here, folks.
Yeah.
There. Okay, so it's okay. I'll sort of extend the top of it. There. So that's the top of it.
There it is.
You recognize that? Now I'd lift it up, but I have a ceiling fan here, and that ceiling fan kind of saves my life most of the year, because it keeps the air moving in here, and I don't die. So this is your classic head clamp, right? Adjustable, blah blah blah, and turn around. Now the Smith and Sharp appears on the cast base. It's got 3 little feet, and it says Smith and Sharp with an E, Toronto. And you see these things a lot-ish, especially in the weird places I hang out. Often the base is made by Century in the US. I've seen a few of those, but this one is actually Toronto made.
Wow.
This part here, I have to be very careful not to, it just comes out, and it's not, it just fits into the hole in the base, and you're adjusted up and down. That's kind of cool. This clamp part here, obviously, this part here is of a more shiny black. You can see that quite easily. I don't know exactly if it's a perfect match, but you know, I'm a photographer. All my stuff isn't a perfect match. You know, I got Nikon lens caps on my Canon cameras. Who cares, right? So yeah. So there you go. So that came across that landed in my sphere of influence just this summer, and it's Toronto. It screams Toronto. It's I don't know, about 1880s. It's, well, actually it screams Toronto or other things when you drop it on your foot. Don't do that. It's really heavy. You ain't moving, right, with this
Oh, right.
lamp to the back of your noggin. So there you go. Another piece of super duper Canadiana, eh? So there you go. Weighs a ton.
Wow.
Weighs a ton. It's you know, and respectfully, I don't hang stuff.
Have you
on.
tried it on?
Oh yeah, it works. It works. I had a somebody who didn't know what the hell, right? And yeah, you clamp this sucker in, and you exercise a certain amount of control.
You can make strong suggestions.
Right. Now, which brings me up, there's this guy at the I last saw him a few years ago at the Elmira Antique Show, and he's a Brit. He's from York in England, but he's been here for 20 or 30 years, he says. So he's losing his accent, and I think his marbles. So I'm flipping through a little album that he's got. You know, just an old CDV album, 60s, 70s, early 80s, whatever. And he sees me flipping through it, and he says, you know, a lot of those people in those pictures are dead. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, they're in their 20s and 30s. This is the 1870s. I would think, right? And I said, well, yeah, they'd be like 162 years old now. Like, you know, what do you live in a weird part of Mexico or something? And he says, no, you don't understand. I went, okay, what don't I understand? Having been around sort of the photo world for a little bit, photo history world. He says, no, in those pictures,
yeah,
a lot of those people are dead. They were photographed dead. And I'm looking at him, and I'd heard about this guy. He was telling people that people posed standing are dead. Now, this guy is the stuff of legend. I was chatting with a guy in Allentown, Pennsylvania, at one of their postcard shows or antique shows, and this that was the topic of discussion. This came up, and I looked at him and I said, "So you're the guy who's spreading that nonsense?" And he says, "What do you mean nonsense?" I said, "Like there's a stand-in behind them holding him up." I said, "The guy's got to weigh, you know, even if he weighs 160 pounds, there's no way Clampy Doodle is going to hold him up." And like he seemed unconvinced. He thought he was right, and I'm like, buddy. So I guess there are some wacky people.
I don't know where that whole story comes. I've seen a lot on eBay where they say they're postmortems.
Yeah.
They don't look dead. They look perfectly alive to me. Anyhow.
And they're also standing. How?
Yeah.
You know what it's like, Erwin, if I sort of turn my back to you and sort of lean back, it would take a lot of oomph on your part to hold me up, let alone silly mechanical little whiz bang like this.
I think it's a thing of commerce taking precedence over logic. I mean, people collect postmortems, so if you say something's a postmortem, you're going to get a slightly higher price for it. But it always seemed very unconvincing to me. Most of these, some of them are obviously the case. But in many cases, they're just so obviously alive.
Yeah. There was a film that came out not too long ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, a French film titled Daguerreotype. It's a horror murder film. And the photographer has this life-size massive daguerreotype camera and this multi-articulated armature in which he would pose his victims.
Actually, in one of our old journals, there is, I'll send it to you, Celio. It does show something very weird like that, but you can't be dead. because I actually, I mean, up downstairs, and I think I know where it is. It's in the reading room. You know, right? And it's a very weird articulated thing that'll like do your elbows and your head and your butt and your, yeah, it's weird. I've never seen one, but I saw a sketch of it, and it's.
Do you remember? Are they actually called a clamp? Where they in the catalogs in the day, were they called clamps? Because they don't use them as a clamp, but more as a brace.
As a rest, yeah. I think
As
they
a
were called
rest, it's
headrests.
more-
Yeah.
I got Mike Robinson this summer. I don't know if you can see this. This is on the this is on the DAG quarterly, right?
Okay.
Oh, it's reverse, sorry. And that's you know, that's me, that's Mott's, and that's
wonderful.
Marcel Safir from Brisbane. And Michael set me up with a clamp. You can't see it. You can see the base of it behind my running shoes. And it's just, yeah, you just sort of rest against it. I don't think, unless you're an unruly kid, you know, you don't, right? And then, you know, if it's not working out well, you just tighten it up some more. Having said that, I also have it's for a little kid, and it's in a wooden thing like this, and sticking out of here is essentially this part. And what you do is you put that around the kid's waist, and then you tighten it up from the back, and then you put the dress or the clothing over the clamp, and that kid ain't going anywhere. And there's the version. John Craig down in Connecticut had a few of these. It's like a baby chair, like a high chair with the clamp in it, or this thing. Lauren, you helped me get this. Where's Lauren?
Oh, he had to leave.
Oh, okay. Lauren helped me get it from doesn't matter. And it looks diabolical. It looks freaky, but that clamps the kid in, and you just put it on a regular chair. That kid ain't going anywhere.
There was a photographer down here who I've seen several of his pictures of children, and they all have their hands up like this. And I think they're doing is they're holding the clamp or the rest behind them, and he's that's how he's getting them to hold their. But it's it's kind of weird. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. I have a chair in the other room, and it's just like a regular wooden chair, and the seat is extra thick, and it's just like a nondescript chair, painted white, no big deal. And the woman who sold it to me said, just put your hand like where the butt goes, and isn't there a built-in music box there? So you wind it up and you plunk the kid down. It's sort of a kid chair, and the photographer who's under the hood at this point and sort of focusing and messing around. He knows the kid is sitting as long as the music plays. Kid gets up, music stops. And I guess the idea is as long as the kid sits there, you know, music playing, yay. Cool. You wouldn't have known it. Made in France. Cool thing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I monopolized. Forgive. But that was fun. It was fun.
All right. Well, you know what? I found the trailer for the film. Apparently, it came out in 2016. And whatchamacallit, at the at TIFF. It was shown at TIFF. So without any further ado, I'd like to share this the official trailer, if I may. And it's actually by a Japanese filmmaker. All right. Let's see. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Should be able to. I'm gonna be having a little bit of a hiccup here. Okay. Just give me one second, please.
In the meantime, Jerry, I belong to the club.
Oh,
Wow.
I love it. I love it. Is yours a Russian one or a North
Yeah,
American?
it's a Russian one. Yeah,
You have the Russian one.
it's a Russian one. It was I think I got it on eBay from Russia.
Yeah, yeah.
Krasnogorskaya
And how have the results from it been?
Okay, not as good. I had a friend from whom I had borrowed a Widelux, which is basically the same principle. And the Widelux is slightly better, but it's solid. I mean, you could probably drive nails through a plank with that.
Yeah.
All right, I think I am ready here. Okay, guys, ready? Let's enjoy this little clip. It is resisting. Apologies.
Ah.
Close.
Okay, here we go.
$20 an hour with opportunities to grow. Day one for the whole family.
Oh, Kurosawa. Wow.
Sublet half its real estate office to a pet shop. There's a smarter way to say it. Comcast Business Mobile. You can save up to an incredible 70% on your wireless bill, so you don't have to compromise. Powering smarter savings, powering possibilities. Switch to Comcast Business Internet and Mobile and find out if the latest 5G phone on us with qualifying trade. Don't wait. Call, click, or visit the Xfinity store today. It's chaos.
Oh.
That daguerreotype didn't look much like a daguerreotype.
Yeah.
Pagers also belong to
Wow.
and Bailey killing at least 12 and injuring nearly 3,000 others. U.S. officials say this was a targeted attack by Israel, which was somehow able to tamper with devices and turn into deadly explosives. Joining me now is Peter Weinhardt, Medicine's political analyst and editor at large of Jewish Times Magazine. Peter, thanks for joining me. My first thought is the scope of damage that this caused. Granted, they were trying to target us, children died, and of course, thousands of people were injured. How do you read Israel's motivations here?
First of all, there's been something to me that's been a little bit sickening about something that kind of cheap is this kind of coverage it is, right? I mean, this is real life. These are people's lives, and including a lot of people.
Is the hope and dream that Donald Trump will somehow spin this thing into a multi-billion-dollar company. If Trump starts selling, and that rationale starts to fall apart. But
cool.
All right, because photography is scary, right?
Yeah. Horrifying.
No, when you were talking about the brace, that thing just popped into my mind.
Right on. That was a pretty scary brace.
All right, great, excellent. Okay, well, I think we are about to wrap up.
You want to do Motz's thing?
I'll do Motz's thing very, very quick, and I am going to read verbatim from her notes. So if you can imagine that I have Motz's voice, that would be very, very helpful. Okay, and let's see. Let me try to get this sorted. Again with the sharing.
$3.4 million.
Sharing is caring, but it's also frustrating sometimes here. Okay, are you able to see my image here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So I'm just gonna read verbatim from Motz's notes. Just a second here. Okay, there we go.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is quite beautiful. This Daguerrean hair jewelry pendant turned up in an unexpected shop in the Midwestern part of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, known as the UP to the locals. Also, like they call us LP folks, the trolls that live under the bridge in a friendly way as they appreciate it. Honest, it was my husband that suggested we stop there. Really, you can see the size of it in comparison against my fingerprints.
Right.
The glass needs cleaning, though. I do think about not doing that unless it's loose. In dealing with some items, it can certainly be easier to let the next person mess it up, or don't fix it if it ain't broke. Theory about tarnished daguerreotypes, or you can screw it up later. This first image shows a dark-eyed man who looks very stoic and determined. I wish I had asked about any provenance. Might be able to go back, as there was a brewery in town too.
Ah, two birds, one stone.
Right. He's a very well dressed. Oh, sorry. He's very well dressed and has the money to pay for the image and the expensive case, let alone the craftsperson's engraving work. He meant serious business, as it also shows in his facial expression. The second image, the second image shows the inscription of MC amongst some interesting engraving. I wish my eyes could still see something like that without any aids. The third image shows the intricate hairwork of the members of the family.
Oh, I see.
I'm going to zoom in on the image a little bit so you can appreciate it. Some people assume that these are mourning pieces, but some can be talismans of the family heritage. I'm somewhat vague on the specifics of individual items, as it's so hard to follow men's fashions, as they didn't change much. But the daguerrean process came to the US in 1839 and spread like wildfire. The daguerrean process was beginning to give out to the the daguerrean process was beginning to give out to the less work-intensive and less expensive amber type process around 1855. There are some US Civil War images that are daguerreotypes, however. The third image shows the family's various hair types, and there seems to be 3 separate knots encircled by a larger loop of hair. Could this be 3 children encircled by the mother's hair? The man in the image seems to be dark-haired, and maybe he's not represented as he has his image there. And I would have made all that up. And that is Motz's script, if you will. But it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
As wonderful a job that Cindy did on my DAG. She's a little reluctant to go into this one because it's not simple to pop out. Like she's got all the right chemistry and the whole 9 yards to do that, but we haven't quite figured out
how to pop that guy.
Yeah, I think it's just the metal around the portrait, around the glass, is just very carefully crimped in. Try to screw with that.
Because there's glass in the back too, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a watchmaker may have done that. It looks like a jeweler, that type of design.
Like strands of hair. It's really beautiful.
How they've kept them, right? Just flat like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Compressed in there. And it's tiny little stuff. That opening is like the size of the opening in a thimble. It's maybe a little bit bigger.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
To intricately weave that hair in.
Yeah.
Who has the patience?
But I mean, you can see all the little hairs as well.
Yeah, the individual hair. Yeah.
Oh, hairs. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's beautifully engraved.
Yeah.
So tiny.
Well, maybe in 100 years they'll be able to take the little bits of hair out and regrow the people.
You want our bandit back?
There's a book out there about Napoleon. I think it's called The Murder of Napoleon. Did you ever read it? Or The Assassination? I don't know what it is. But back in the 80s, they could do this testing on hair, and they were trying to determine whether there's any chemicals in his hair. You know that, Clint? And they went around people were collecting hair samples from everybody back in the day, and if you had Napoleon's hair, you'd keep that as a memento. So these researchers went all around the world looking for people who had examples of his hair, and often it was retained with a date. And they were looking at how much what the chemical composition was in the hair based on his diet at the time, and they noticed supposedly once he got to Elba, was it Elba? No, St. Helens. That the arsenic level went up, and so there's a theory that he was being poisoned by arsenic.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned briefly earlier, Victorian dresses that are green. Green was made with, help me out here, I think it was arsenic. So I was helping out at an auction house downtown, Canada Book Auctions. Neil McDonald, you guys know Neil McDonald. And there was we opened up one book, and there was a bookbinder's little sticker inside front cover, and we sort of made a note not to like touch that, because it's you occasionally get a beautiful green dress, and they're gorgeous, and they're you look at it and go, oh, that's for a 12-year-old. No, it's for a woman. It's a fully grown woman who back then tall was 5'2", and it's green, and reports of arsenic poisoning simply by absorption of the dye through the skin.
Right. Wow. Same thing with old books that are dyed green.
Yep.
Right. Those leather-bound books.
Yep.
With green covers. Wow. So if you love somebody, that's the book you give them.
Would it be the reason why green is supposed to be sort of bad luck on stage? That they wouldn't wear green. You don't wear a green dress on stage in the theater.
I think
it's supposed to be bad luck, and it might be derived.
Might be connected to that.
Could be.
Yeah. Scary.
Right. Okay. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you guys who have taken the time to come to our program and to share with us your finds this summer. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed meeting some new faces tonight. I'd like to welcome Bruno. I think it's the first time maybe that you're joining us.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Lindsay as well. I think might be the first time you're joining us.
For a while, Lindsay, long time, buddy. So good to see you, Lindsay. Wow.
Thank you.
I remember once.
I have a little item to show.
Yeah. Show.
Please shoot. Please do.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, I know what that is.
Oh,
I know what it is.
It's a military shoulder patch for a photographer, Canadian. It has the maple leaf above it, and the camera all in Megan gold braid.
Oh wow!
Oh, how cool!
What era?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure, but it's hand on gold braid.
Wow,
it looks like a bellows camera, doesn't it?
A little thing I thought I'd produce.
Oh, it's wonderful.
You're hired.
That's fantastic.
Neat.
Yeah.
Photography corps, huh?
Yep.
I'm guessing that's Second World War. I don't know. I don't know that we sent photographers in the first.
Might be.
Good point.
Did you ever show it to the people?
It might be more likely second, I think.
Second into Korean as well, early 50s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Likely.
Yeah.
Still using the crown.
But it's an old school camera, isn't it? With
bellows.
bellows.
Bellows. Yeah.
How very cool. Lindsay, thank you so much. Where did you find that?
To tell you the truth, I don't remember.
Lindsay was cleaning up.
I think it was just in the flea market somewhere.
Yeah. A neat thing.
Fantastic. Well,
favors the prepared, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? Anyone?
Me?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
No? Are we all good?
Okay.
Thank you again, everyone. What a pleasure having you all over here. And learning so much about your summer finds. I want to thank you on behalf of the PHSC, and I'd like to leave you with, I'd like to leave Clint with closing remarks
Yes.
for tonight's meeting.
Are you heading out, mate? Because you've got a class tomorrow? Yes,
I
no?
do. So I'm handing over the reins to you.
To me, stop recording and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.